Hi there everybody, Kevin Schulthies here for the Christian Heritage Party. In today's video, I'm doing a react video for JJ McCullough, I believe is his name. Go check out his channel and stuff like that. He is going to be talking about fringe parties. We are one of those fringe parties, so I'm going to be curious as to what he has to say about it. And then I also made another video today on listening to a variety of sources. And I went through 90% of the video. It's fairly long, so this video is a bit of a long video. I skip parts of it. Sorry, I don't. He does talk about some of the other fringe parties. I kind of listened to some of the big ones, and then for sake of brevity, which already is a 40-minute long video, I saved you some of the hassle. But I react to it. I was very excited to hear what he had to say about the Christian Heritage Party, and I appreciate what he had to say on that. And yeah, you should go watch his whole video to learn about some of the history. He missed a couple things, but he did a relatively great job, and I'm going to look forward to seeing a bunch more of his videos. So go and like and subscribe him maybe, or go check him out and his channel. I'll leave details down below. But other than that, enjoy my react video to him, and we'll go from there. Okay, and yeah, thanks for all your love, support. Drop me comments down below. I brought up the fact, I think you forgot the Reform Party. If you have any comments and stuff like that for me, and that's good, shout out to him. So congratulations, and look forward to learning more with some of his other videos. And he's got lots of great thumbnails. Here, I'll show you his channel. He's got lots of other videos I'm going to have to look into over the months and stuff, and a lot of good Canadian content. So good work, buddy. Okay, talk to you later. Hey everybody, Kevin Schulthies here for the CHP Christian Heritage Party. That's what I ran in the last election, and found the party 5 years ago, and I agree with their stance and living on biblical principles and whatnot. We are actually going to do a walkthrough video of this fellow here, JJ McCullough, I believe is his name. You can go check out a bunch of his stuff, as I was sharing in my last video before I ranted on about got on a whole another topic of learning a bunch of different topics. I just ran into this guy a few weeks ago before the election. I barely have gotten, I think I've only watched one or two of his videos, and I knew that I wanted to get back to him. He's got tons of great thumbnails. It looks like he's talking lots about government, and a good chunk of it's about Canadian stuff, so I'm presuming he's Canadian, and we will see. I have no idea if I like him or not, but now he's got a little video on Canada's fringe parties, of which we are one of those fringe parties. So I'm going to be curious as to what he has to say about it. I'd watched already 2 minutes of it, but yeah, so, and he just basically, the first part of it is he goes in and he just talks about, that the main two parties in the world, in Canada, it's basically the Liberal Party and, the Conservative parties. Right, so those are, we're first past the post here, and we're CHPs for proportional representation, so that actually that we can get tons of voices to the table. Some people may completely disagree and says that's a bad way to run government, and other people will say that's a great way to run government. Everybody will disagree on everything, so you're never going to get consensus on how to run government, because government is people, and people always have different ideas, and whatever. You can have kings and rulers, and technically, heck, if you really want to get back to it, man, if everybody just lived biblical values, you don't even need rulers and relative laws and whatnot, because theoretically everybody would run and do things for the greater good and whatnot. But even the good Lord himself, the people demanded a king back in the days, and the Lord, the Bible said, you don't want a king. Be careful. He might put you to work and might enslave you, and he might even tax you up to 10%. So be careful, because you really don't want a king, and you really should self-govern. But people wanted a king to boss them around, and kind of, got away from good old biblical principles, but that's okay. We're kind of in that right now, that's up until perfection. We're not going to get that anytime soon. So in the meantime, we got governments. So yes, our voting system in Canada is first past the post. If you actually want to learn a little bit about that too, my suggestion is YouTube Animal Kingdom voting or something, and CGP has lots of great topics on first past the post, and then he explains a whole bunch of other ones, and then there's a whole bunch of great videos on if you look up first past the post and proportional representation, and there's 5, 6, 7 different variants of those, and Canada can have a mix. But let's see what this guy has to say about fringe parties. Hang on one second. Oh, where did I go? Oh, yeah. So basically he's saying in Canada, of course, we have our first past the post is always kind of red and blue. Conservatives and liberals in general. A few other ones have squeaked up. NDP or Bloc. We got a provincial party running in a national party, and then they get national leadership debates. Not sure how that works, but I'm also in a proportional representation system, we actually should see more of this. So trust me, I'm okay with it. Not sure how it works for fairness in our current system, because whatever. But NDP, Green, they have their say. They get some certain things on the board, and then when you have lots of voices at the table, you can actually have to work together and have way more communication instead of bully tactics, ramming things through. You actually get different topics brought to the media's attention, point, counterpoint, things like that. So when you're at the table, you actually can bring some points to the table, and you can actually fight for at least what you're passionate about, because each one of these is passionate. And then he talks about fringe parties, and he goes into that. Of course, we have some of our, these guys get millions of votes. And then, these guys get around a couple million votes. And then at the bottom, we get thousands of votes, right? Tens of thousands of votes, right? CHP's been around quite some time. There's always some of these other parties and stuff, right? And then now, actually, even as of, he probably could have put on here the PPC party, the People's Party of Canada, because it ended up being an offshoot of Conservatives, just kind of very vocal on certain topics and slight adjustments and opening it up. But then it's actually kind of the PPC party, I have a feeling the Libertarian Party, I didn't see much of them this year. I have a feeling that a lot of Libertarian parties kind of went into the PPC. So he probably could have put down PPC because they technically got way more of the limelight this year as well. They got basically almost just as much limelight as the Green in the Bloc and stuff. So he should have had these in here because this video is October 5th. He knows better. So he could have put these guys down, and they ended up getting like 1.53% of the vote, something like that. So they did pretty good. They did decent enough to get 5 or 6 seats in proportional representation this year, which, heck, the Green had to start somewhere as well, right? So, and then he talks about a few other parties that, get only a few hundred votes. So that's fun. So, anyways, so here I am. Let's see where we're at, and let's see what he has to say about fringe parties. I will stop and comment as I need to. Go and check him out and his videos. I've subscribed to him, so I anticipate reading and learning what he has to say on a bunch of different topics, and I don't know where he lies, but doesn't really matter. And go check out my other video about learning a bunch of stuff. So let's go check out his video here. Yeah, and that being said too, is sometimes they get to be a debate or something like that. They bring up some topics, they get their talking points in their local community, and that's good. You know, this year I think we debated a few. They actually got a few candidates on there to be. What did we get this year? Uh, Veterans Party, right? Like Veterans Affairs and, you know, fight for veterans' rights and stuff. Totally legit. Some parties do it better than others, but they decided to literally, you know, and it's usually an itemized thing on their platform, how you treat vets and where they lie on priorities. But somebody made a party on that. So, and you want to know what? You know, there was a marijuana party, and I think there still is. But guess what? Eventually, marijuana in the last election became legal. So Canada just became legal last year. We're into 2.0 with edibles here. So sometimes, you know, fringe parties bring up topics that should be brought up, or at least worth listening to at times.
You can safely ignore those ones. It is the middle group here, the parties that consistently win a few thousand votes.
Okay.
The ones we are going to talk about today, since they represent Canada's most stable and consistent fringe. So Canada's two biggest fringe parties are both factions of the political right, the Libertarian Party and the Christian Heritage Party. Christian Heritage is the more historically successful of the two, and probably deserves to be considered Canada's most serious fringe party, if that's not too much of an oxymoron. Since its founding in the late 1980s,
Well, so far, you know, he's not wrong. I can appreciate his comments so far on that. We definitely are wanting to be serious and actually move forward more so. This year we got to field roughly 51 candidates all across Canada, right? Oh, no, hang on, that's my website. Hang on. See, chp.ca is the official CHP website. And if you look at our candidates for 2019, we actually seriously ran, look at that, we represent from coast to coast. Not quite coast to coast to coast. I don't think we had any up in the Northwest Territories, but we had somebody in every province. Pretty strong in Ontario. Had myself in Nova Scotia. I was in Edmonton area. I helped some of these guys out in the past. It was great to see some new Edmonton ridings because we never had any before, and then I ended up moving out east. So I had to run where I was at. So we will see what he has to say about us. So we are pretty serious, and we'd love to win a handful of seats to be able to get certain topics in the news a little bit more often than they are. So let's see what he has to say about us.
consistently tends to get around 20 to 40,000 votes in a typical Canadian election, or about 0.1% of the national popular vote. It is basically a party for Christian fundamentalists in very rural parts of the country. The key word being fundamentalists. There are tons of politically active Christians in Canada, particularly evangelical Protestants and conservative Catholics, but they tend to gravitate towards the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party is very friendly to the Christian community.
Relatively, that is true. If you actually, and we'll see if he brings it up, is I suppose, yeah, if anything, we are the closest leaning to that. Again, I think he's completely ignoring the CPP party right now, or maybe forgot about it in the making of this video, because that's going to cannibalize a little bit of the conservative vote, and even some of particularly some of our vote, because some of our party platforms are all together in the CPP. The Conservatives used to be very Christian friendly, but they have gone so far away from that and built their whole platform on a foundation of sand, and as opposed to some good bedrock and some good solid principles, and they become wishy-washy. Some of the Conservative Party, of course, hopefully he brings it up, came from like the Reform Party, and a whole bunch of the Reform Party people were strong, great Christians, of which they actually wore that label after being part of the Christian Heritage Party, and we got a ton of people that, someday I hope we actually win a handful of these guys back to actually stand on some principles. So we'll see what he has to continue to say here.
A perfect Christian party, able to bring about a perfect Christian government. As their party constitution says,
we believe the Holy Bible to be the inspired, inerrant written Word of God and the final authority above all man's laws and government. We believe the purpose of civil government is to ensure freedom and justice for nation's citizens by upholding law and order in accordance with biblical principles.
Well, so far, you want to know what, buddy? You're doing a great job on this video. At least I haven't heard any leanings one way or the other, or opinions or whatever. So congratulations so far. And you're pulling details right from, I guess, our own websites and Constitution and stuff like that. So good marks so far on the video. So can't say much about that. And of course, yeah, we're fighting for freedom and family and justice. Man, even speedy justice. Canada's got a ton of great laws. We have a crappy justice system that is so freaking slow. It actually is injustice for all, both criminal and victim and whatnot. It makes victims of us all when we have slow injustice as well. So that's a whole nother part. Is heck, we'd love to have just even more timely justice of a bunch of our great laws already. So.
And they don't care if such a party has absolutely no chance of ever winning, because the point isn't to win, the point is to honor the Lord. As the
You want what? I appreciate that. I can that it kind of is the point. So here, let's watch that again. It's not necessarily to win. That's funny. I appreciate he brought that up. You might be making fun of us. I don't know, but at least he brought it up. Let's hear that again.
Absolutely no chance of ever winning.
I disagree with that. I think we can actually win just 1, 2, 3 seats, something like that. Especially under a proportional representation system. We actually, if under a proportional representation system, you would find so many people wanting to vote for a lot of different people and a lot of different platforms that actually truly represent them and Canada, but instead we're cookie cutter lumped into our first past the post handful of systems, and you have to strategically vote. So you'd be surprised. We would actually get a handful of seats under a PR system. And, are we expecting to run a majority government? I would actually fight against that. I actually want lots of voices to the table. But at the same time, I joked at some of my debates this year that, hey, I wish some of our parties would actually run on the platforms that they actually propose to run on, and then they don't run on it when they're in government. Because then at least we could vote one way or the other next time based on their platform. But if nobody follows their platform for the most part, well, it's just, they promise something, you vote them in, and then they don't do it. It makes it tough to vote them in, and then you don't know how to vote next time. It's frustrating. So let's hear his comment again.
Because the point isn't to win, the point is to honor the Lord.
Honor the Lord, and no, it is true. We want to honor the Lord, and as my comment on this is my favorite comment I think it's Ezekiel 33 or something like that, where we need to be watchmen and witnesses. We are needing to bring the good news, and we're also needing to bring the bad news. The gospel is considered the good news, right? But there is no good news without the bad news. Also, first of all, and there's negativity. You got to warn people about what's happening. But this particular verse actually talks about as a watchman, if your job is to warn people, let people know when there's bad guys at the front gate coming, or an enemy coming toward the city, if you're a walled city, and even if you're not a walled city, and your job is to, or what's that saying on, or what's that awesome scene in Lord of the Rings, right? Where they light all the watchtowers that haven't been lit for thousands of years or hundreds of years. They light them up, and it calls everybody to attention, right? So a watchman is to bring attention to and warn people. And if a watchman doesn't do his job as a watchman, then the blood of Canadians, the blood of people's, that's my fault, right? I need to run. We need Christians across the country to run, because if we don't run, the blood of Canada and Canadians is on our heads. So we actually need to run and honor the Lord on that. So he is right in honoring the Lord part. So, but we need to be watchmen and witnesses. So we need to bring the bad news. Some people say, "Oh, I wish their debates wouldn't be so negative and stuff." You want to know what I call poppycock to that. And actually, as good Christians, we actually need to bring up a ton of negative. We need to shine light on it, and that's bringing the good news. We need to bring good solutions, which we'll see if he brings up, to the negativity and the corruption and what our past two governments over the decades and hundreds of years have destroyed Canada, and warn them what they're doing to our future economy. So here we go.
As the head of the party once put it, to be a Christian heritage politician is to make a living sacrifice for God. Now, in practice, Christian heritage can only ever hope to appeal to an incredibly narrow slice of the Canadian population, which is to say Christians who are too fundamentalist to vote Conservative, but not fundamentalist enough that they consider voting itself sinful. There is a faction of Dutch Reform people in rural Ontario who vote Christian heritage, as well as some Pentecostals and Mennonites in the prairie provinces who vote that way as well. Together, these are some of Canada's biggest Christian fundamentalist communities. But again,
yeah, we are stronger in Alberta. Alberta's considered, I'm from Alberta, and it's surprising Alberta's considered the Bible Belt of Canada, which I'm like, what? I've grown up my whole life as a Christian, and I've never quite thought of Alberta as the Bible Belt. And I'm like, man, if Alberta's the Bible Belt, what the heck is the rest of the country doing? Because, man, we are in trouble. Because Alberta ain't got it all together either. And we're way off track, too, on tons of stuff. So, and I knew Ontario had a bit of, some Christian following. And I, of course, just Quebec and French and what limited I know in history and stuff like that, got a lot of Catholic history and stuff like that. A lot of people are have Catholic influence, and they consider themselves, or I kind of joke, they're practicing Catholics, C&E Christians, Christian in Easter or something like that, a funeral here or there, a couple of practices, go to Sunday once in a while, and you might be labeled as a Christian. Whether or not you practice that too much, that's a little bit debatable. But that's most Christians, and that's most religions, whether most people don't necessarily follow very well their religion. They just wear a little bit of it, and they just keep that religion on the forefront for some of the social norms. But yes, Alberta and Ontario have been some of our stronger places. I would imagine Quebec would be a stronger place as well if we had proportional representation, because we have lots that we stand up for things that all the Catholics can agree with. And if we didn't have to split our vote, you'd actually get a ton more people wanting to agree with us as their number one choice. And then number two might be a Conservative or a PPC or middle of the road or something like that. If we had choices, you would radically see a stronger voice for people voting their conscience. Anyways, so far his video is pretty interesting.
The party is really fighting an uphill battle to get these people to either not vote Conservative or to vote at all. After peaking in the 2004 election with 0.3% of the national popular vote, the Christian Heritage Party has declined quite a bit in recent years. They only won 15,000 votes in the last election, but that's fine. It's God's will. On the other end is the Libertarian Party.
Yeah, well, that's where we're at. This year, hopefully it's a lot more. I'd have to double check our stats on that. I think we were at 18,000 this year. We had, I think we had 35 candidates last time. I think we are at 18,000 votes, 19,000 or something votes this year. Anyway, so let's hear what he has to say about the Libertarian Party.
So in conclusion, while none of these parties...
Okay, so yeah, it looks like he didn't bring up the Reform Party, which I'm a little surprised at that one, because that's bigger than some of these other ones, and he's bringing up some good history, doing a lot of good research there.
These really matter much at all. Hopefully learning about them has given you some insight into some of the fringe subcultures that exist on the extreme margins of Canadian life. So tell me which ones seem most interesting to you. And do any of them remind you of fringe movements in your own country? Thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to like and subscribe. I will see you next week.
So there you go. Like and subscribe him. He's got lots of looks like other videos that I will be watching. So, yeah, at least he gave a good summary of the Christian Heritage Party. That was, I believe, fairly fair, and I watching the whole video, I didn't necessarily see him put too much sass or opinion on any particular side of things. So I can appreciate that on him. So thank you very much. And yeah, I look forward to watching some of your other videos. And yeah, keep up the great Canadian content. Go over there, like, subscribe him, and check out my other video that I just made this morning um, about getting opinions from a bunch of sources. So I appreciate you. If you've watched this video in its completion, congratulations. Hopefully I'm a little entertaining, a little informative is what I hope. I hope that you become passionate about something. I bring up some kind of topic, one of my headlines, one of my titles gets your attention, and you click on it, you watch video, you become a better informed citizen, and you go out and do something and get involved in the upcoming elections. They actually made elections they actually made becoming a candidate actually even easier. They just passed a court case just recently, making it easier to become a candidate in Canada. It used to be, and this is a good public service announcement, it used to be that you'd had to collect 100 legit signatures from eligible voters in your riding. That's hard enough. Like that's relative. That's kind of actually fairly easy. You could door knock that and get that. And I had to door knock like 100 homes just to get mine, and then I got a handful of other signatures from a few other people and got my signatures. Um, then there's also was $1,000 requirement. There was a deposit just so you don't get all these crazies coming to the door to be candidates. I say crazies, but like I honor them, right? Like our riding, this election, we had a couple of independents. We had the Veterans Party, but 2 independents. Amazing. They actually ran. They were able to run great, or one of them was able to run a halfway decent campaign, and I'd heard a handful of people talk about him and stuff, and the one platform that he had, at least he got that message across the couple of local communities in our big riding. So congratulations on that individual. And this year we actually voted in an independent, although she, I think it was Rabel something, although she had a super high position in the government, was in the media forever because she was standing against corruption and against her party, and she stood up and got fired and reassigned in court cases, and then she actually ran independently, and she almost lost, but then she won. So congratulations, we actually can even vote an independent. Little surprising on that. That an independent got voted in, but congratulations again on a proportional representation type government voting system, democratic system, is we'd actually get a lot more independent people willing to not necessarily run certain party platforms, but actually run listening to the people, standing up on morals and principles, and you may or may not necessarily even need to run under a certain banner, you know, and congratulations on her. And that takes a lot of work, everything had to be going in her line. She almost lost, but first past the post made that hard for her, but she did get voted in. So she, even as an independent, is one of these fringe parties, right? And technically she got enough votes to actually win, so she actually did way better than a lot of these fringe parties, because we haven't even got our first seat yet too. But the Green Party was a fringe party for 30 some years or whatever, and then eventually it got 1 seat, and then just the last few months they finally got their second seat, and then now they're up to 3, so they got 3 seats. So congratulations. Although that's first past the post though. Proportional representation alone would have got them I think 22 seats or something like that. So anyways, congratulations. Thanks very much for watching. Definitely educate yourself. Like, subscribe the video. Could use your support. And that being said, I actually encourage, let's make CHP not so much a fringe party anymore. We had 50 some candidates this time. There's no reason why we can't find 338 Christians willing to stand up on principles and actually plant the flag. So if you're one of them, reach out to me. I want to talk to you. I helped get a few more out in the Edmonton area where I was, and I would have wanted to get, all of Edmonton. We got 5, 6, 8 ridings, something like that. I would have been one of them, and a few other spots, But we went from 0 to 3 or 4, so that's great on that. But there's no reason why we can't go from 50 to 338. And I think there's enough good people across Canada to be able to stand up, willing to plant their flag with us. And you're not by yourself, but you are with a team of people willing to honor the Lord, right? And be a watchman and a witness for all of Canada. So congratulations. Love you, blessings, and check out some of my other videos. Okay, see ya. If you like that video, feel free to hit that subscribe button to catch all my other videos. And as they come out, give me a thumbs up. Much appreciated. Share the video around. And of course, check out the other websites and other links down below.